This final portion of Lecture 10 is going to describe something that's really, really important for parents to understand, and that is observational learning. Observational learning is when you learn by watching what other people do and imitating their behavior. Straightforward enough. But I want to tell you about one study, profoundly important study, by a fellow named Bandura. It's called the Bobo the Doll Study. And what Bandura did, showed children a video of a woman beating up a doll called Bobo. And we're going to watch that video in just a minute. But the children watched the adult beating up Bobo the clown in a room. And then the children are allowed to go and play in that room. And you will be stunned by how quickly the children imitate the adult's violent behavior. So it's only a minute and a half, but think about this. This is really powerful. If you know of children or a child in an abusive home, the implications of this study are dramatic.
York. The model pummeled the doll with a mallet, flung it in the air, kicked it repeatedly, threw it down and beat it. It was once widely believed that seeing others vent aggression would drain the viewer's aggressive drive. As you can see, exposure to aggressive modeling is hardly cathartic. Exposure to aggressive modeling increased attraction to guns, even though it was never modeled. Guns had less appeal to children who had no exposure to the aggressive modeling. The children also picked up the novel hostile language.
Did that demonstration scare you? It always scares me. Children who grow up in households where there's violence imitate that violence. Yeah. This is the means by which abuse becomes multi-generational. Children who are abused have a significantly increased likelihood of growing up to be abusers themselves because of observational learning. We also know this from studies of TV watching and social media watching. Children who see violent television, violent films, violent social media are more likely to act out, to solve problems aggressively through violence. But it's a catch-22. So children who see violence are more likely to act violently. But it's also the case that people who are violent are more likely to seek out violent television shows, violent movies, violent social media content. So it's a circle, right? Or a downward spiral. This is one of those studies that always sort of stops me in my tracks. It's a few years old now, but it's a powerful study that took many, many years, 17 years to complete. The first thing that researchers did was to measure how many acts of violence children see on television. And they discovered that in the U.S., it's not like this in other countries, folks, in the U.S., a child sees 8,000 murders on TV before they finish elementary school. Let me say that again. In the U.S., the average child, before they finish elementary school, has seen with their own eyes 8,000 murders. By the time they're 18, they've seen 40,000 murders and 200,000 acts of violence. So, TV content, crazy violent, right? So, okay, does that have any implications for children's later behavior? Well, I just told you about observational learning. It's a very powerful way for us to learn. We learn by watching what other people do. It turns out that in this study, children who watch 3 or more hours of TV a day have a much greater likelihood of acting violently as teenagers than children who watch less than an hour of TV a day. It's a strong correlation, right? It's not an experimental study, it's a correlational study, but there is so much correlational data to draw associations between watching violent content and acting out violently that there's really no debate in the literature. So, if you want a child who tries to solve their problems with their brains instead of their fists, keep them away from violent content. Okay? All right, students. That's the end of Unit 10. Head back to Canvas. Everybody else, thanks for watching. Take care.